where I was a mother and I was all prepared for a very glorified version of motherhood, something that we commonly see motherhood as. But I didn't experience anything like that. I couldn't bond with my baby. I had the worst postpartum experience ever, and I also had postpartum depression. The best person to visit when you're experiencing these symptoms is a psychiatrist and a psychologist, because they're better equipped the way to empower and educate moms, educate families who don't believe in mental health, is to have a discussion during the pregnancy. Even if the mother is informed, the family is not supportive. The husband's like, पहले तो कभी नहीं हुआ, ये तुमको ही आज क्यों हो रहा है?
Hello and namaste once again. This is Sonia Pawa once again from Nine and Beyond, your friend and guide. And as promised, today I'm especially excited, overwhelmed, and emotional because with us we have, I will call her a young warrior who, through her personal journey and experience, a lawyer by education, but she changed her line and she came out in the open so that she can help mothers. And she calls herself maternal mental health activist and postpartum depression activist. But honestly, after meeting her, hearing her story, and reading about her, I would call her a maternal mental health and PPD angel. And I promise you by the end of the podcast, you will realize the same. So we have with us today Shreya Mitra. Shreya ji, आपका बहुत 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 स्वागत है आज के podcast में. Thank you for taking out your valuable time, bringing out your experience out in the open to help people who are planning pregnancy, are pregnant, and like we say, 9 and beyond, and want to go beyond all this for better parenting, better life. So thank you so much for being here for us.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for doing this with me. I really appreciate it.
And for her incredible work and journey, she has been featured by very prestigious publications like Vogue, Hindustan Times. She's been featured by the National because it's a body of work which must reach out and reach as many people as possible. Honestly, I will ask her only to explain her journey, her work of. आप श्रेया जी प्लीज बताइए आप क्या करते हैं, बिकॉज अपने शब्दों में your journey, your content creation on Instagram, of your support groups, of your online sessions to help people with postpartum depression, PMDD, and other related issues.
Okay. So I am a lawyer by profession, but now I'm a content creator who talks about maternal mental health. So when I talk about maternal mental health, I mean postpartum depression. It all comes from my journey, where I was a mother and I was all prepared for a very glorified version of motherhood, something that we commonly see motherhood as. But I didn't experience anything like that. I couldn't bond with my baby. I had the worst postpartum experience ever, and I also had postpartum depression. So that's when I understood what the real experience of motherhood feels like. And I then realized when I started talking about it that I was not alone. So in the initial thing, I started the Instagram page called Raising Shan, where I spoke more about my experience, spoke more about postpartum depression. Then I created a free support group called Postpartum Support India on Facebook and Instagram. So then people could connect, people could talk more about it, feel less lonely.
Yeah.
And I continue to create content on PPD, PMDD. All of these are things that I experienced, and it was a very lonely, frightful experience because, no one ever told me that this happens or you should be prepared for it. Or if you have these symptoms, this is where you need to go for help. So it was a complete, journey of self-navigation, facing a lot. And I don't want anyone to go through what I went through. So with that intention, Raising Shan was born. And as time's going by, like things are changing, I've been able to do more, reach out to more people.
So which is so commendable, to turn your adversity into advantage for the world, giving it back to society, what probably you received is, I think that's what warriors are all about. And we must salute warriors like you at such a young age to do this, to have the thought process to do this. You are definitely blessed and born with a purpose. God's chosen one, I would say that. That's why I said you are an angel and not an activist. So tell me one thing. Would you like to, like, before we tell them anything, I know people understand postpartum depression, right? That is a term which is getting very common now. But can we explain it to them really what is postpartum depression and what is PMDD?
So PMDD is a completely different thing compared to postpartum depression. Postpartum depression is basically a disorder, a form of depression that happens after you deliver. It is very easily confused with baby blues. So after you deliver, a lot of moms go through this feeling of, crying, being low. Okay. It takes some time to feel normal. That is also because of the hormonal changes that happen.
Right.
So baby blues is something that usually goes by itself. It doesn't require medical help. But any of these symptoms that are lasting over 2 weeks,
okay,
and keeps getting worse, or you keep experiencing symptoms like, unable to bond with your baby, crying a lot, loss of appetite, or eating too much, loss of sleep, anger, postpartum rage is a hidden symptom of postpartum depression.
Okay.
Anxiety, all of these are symptoms of postpartum depression, and if they last for over 2 weeks, you need to see your psychiatrist or a psychologist. These are the two places you should go for a checkup. The mistake I did was I would go to my gynecologist, and now I realize that the best person to visit when you're experiencing these symptoms is a psychiatrist and a psychologist, because they're better equipped to handle these.
Absolutely.
symptoms.
But don't you think a gynecologist would recognize that and send you there?
Or that should be the case. In fact, if you ask me, I think the way to empower and educate moms, educate families who don't believe in mental health, is to have a discussion during the pregnancy. Like, what mood
with your gynecologist?
The gynecologist having this discussion with the parents, because
right.
even if the mother is informed, the family is not supportive. The husband's like, "Pehle to kabhi nahi hua, ye tumko hi aaj kyun ho raha hai?" So those things also restrict you from taking help. And I have to admit this thing, even as a mental health advocate, that it is easy to book an appointment with an ortho or with a general physician, but you pick up the number and you call a psychiatrist or a psychologist. It takes courage.
Seriously?
So it does take a lot of courage to actually make that call or set up that appointment. So I think while it is easier and makes while a gynecologist talking to a mother can make their postpartum easier, the place to go to for help is a psychiatrist. They are all doctors, they all can give medication, but the ability, in my experience, I've seen the kind of compassion and information I have received from a psychiatrist was not the same with a gynecologist. But a gynecologist would be a good place to start, where you tell them about what you're experiencing. But, I think this also varies from one practitioner to another. Like, I was dismissed completely. Okay. I would go with palpitations, racing heartbeat, drop in BP. I've gone through numerous ECGs, scans, and I was dismissed for gas because they were like, "You're too young. You can't have PPD. You have a loving family. Everything is normal. Everything's just going great in your life. How can you have this?" So it might be just that. And I kept requesting, but they were not that aware, or maybe they just thought that she's not a candidate. But I found help when I went to the right side. Yeah.
So probably the prenatal program, which is so common and prevalent these days, must have this section whereby they, it's not just between the partners. Maybe if they're in a joint family system, then maybe the family educate them on this, because I can clearly see the necessity of it. Yeah. Because once see anything which is education, is knowledge, is empowering you.
Information is power.
Right? So if they explain this with the symptoms, person is aware. And the moment the symptoms happen, like, like you said, you go to ortho, you get a knee pain, you will go to an ortho,
Correct.
you know it. But if you're getting a palpitation, obviously you'll think of a cardiologist
Yeah.
or maybe a gastroenterologist.
But I think the biggest awareness here is to be aware of the symptoms. Like
Right.
you feeling low all the time, you're crying all the time is not normal. It can be common, but it is not normal, especially in the postpartum phase. A lot of things are just dismissed as, oh, it's just probably the hormones. But if it's, really crippling you down and you're not able to function normally like you would in your life, it's important to get screened. So I think the first place to start would be during your pregnancy, when the gynecologist informs you about this is what you should expect. Because while there's like how we're talking about postpartum depression, there is also something called antenatal depression, where you experience depression during your pregnancy, which again gets dismissed as, ye to pregnancy mein mood swings hota hai, but sometimes it gets really bad. So a conversation on mental health, if it begins during pregnancy, I think that can be a game changer, where the mother knows, okay, this does happen and this is not me, this is not just my behavior. So that gives you the confidence to go back to your gynecologist and say that, you remember you told me about that. I think I'm experiencing this now.
Right.
How can we go forward? Because the first checkup after pregnancy is very like methodical. Like, has your uterus gone back to its size? They just clear you for intimacy and they just check how you're recovering. That's all. But are you breastfeeding your child? But the mental health part is not spoken about. It needs more conversation.
It needs more attention and more conversation.
Coming from a doctor's chamber during your pregnancy is most likely to have more effect and reading
Absolutely.
on social media.
So I think it is at that level very important.
Yes.
The acceptance there, like, that they should accept this, that this is part of it.
Correct.
And should be probably
it makes
part of the training.
It changes your mindset. Let's say
Absolutely.
I'm going and I don't know about it. I've not seen my mother go through it and she's not spoken to me. But I'm going with my wife and doctor's putting a mental health angle to it. So what that does is it gives me the idea that, okay, this can happen.
Right.
So when I see my wife go through that symptoms, I might be like, oh, is it relatable? At least that question comes versus
is
now.
it relatable?
ये किसको होता है? ये मम्मी को लगा उस समय
हर औरत तो pregnant होती है. ये कौन सा drama है? This is a very common sentence.
PPD is, I keep saying this, PPD is basically attention seeking behavior. It is a cry for attention. The woman is asking for attention, that pay attention to what she's feeling. Give her that attention. It's not just give me importance. It is a cry. That's when.
So it's a symptom that she needs attention.
She needs
right?
Yes.
It's like an immunity response, like how if we get fever, it's a response to you may have an infection, right? So probably this behavior, which we keep saying, is
a cry for help.
But here the attention seeking is actually a symptom.
Yes.
A cry for help.
Yeah.
It needs more attention. I think very, very important for everybody who's hearing out there. Please make your partners hear this. Please make your families hear this and have the courage that please inform your gynecologist about it. I would really say that together we can bring this change and really help everybody.
Correct.
Right? Can we specify the symptoms and be more specific to these people?
So the most common symptoms of postpartum depression is postpartum rage, irritability, loss of appetite, being unable to bond with your child, thinking that you're not meant for this and this life doesn't belong to you and others will be better off without you, feeling suicidal, anxiety, feeling like your heart's always racing, overthinking, having scary thoughts. What if my baby falls down and dies? Is he breathing well enough? Constantly checking, being extremely paranoid. These are all symptoms of postpartum depression. And if it's lasting for over 2 weeks, you should get yourself screened. Another thing that I would want to mention here is, since we were talking about how education or just being informed can make a difference, there is this scale called EPDS scale, which is called the Edinburgh Postnatal Scale Depression. That is basically a screening test for you to understand if you are at risk for PPD. So when I received my training, this is what we were taught, that moms up to 2 weeks must be assessed and you get a score. You mark that score and 2 weeks later, you again take that score. If there is no change and if they are falling under that bracket, they need to be screened better.
Oh, so
this
there's a-
should be
Wow.
mandatory in India.
Absolutely.
It should be mandatory.
And it should be mandatory at the gynecological.
Yeah,
checkup,
that's where they
right?
do it. That's where they're supposed to do it in the first checkup. That it should happen, because this is going to be a game changer.
Game
because
changer for
we're
this.
talking about mental health. You're screening them.
Right.
People who don't believe in it also get to know, and someone who's not aware also then is informed that, okay, this might happen, and if it does, this is how I get to know. But that is also something that has to come from a doctor.
Yeah. But then, this awareness is sometimes what happens. It's the other way around. The movement starts,
Yeah.
right? If more and more people are aware of it, they will demand it.
Yeah.
And probably what is demand is supply.
Yeah,
Right? Let's put it like that. So can we just specify once again, what is the scale called?
It's called EPDS. It is
Okay.
called Edinburgh Postnatal Scale Depression.
Okay.
It's a scale that is accepted by psychiatrists and psychologists everywhere.
We shall all pray and make an effort that this
Maternal
happens.
mental health screening
least-
should become
yes.
mandatory.
Absolutely. And I'm sure I will, every time we have a gynecologist on podcast now, I am going to make this point and request them that please start this. At least let's make the beginning on, because this is go a long way, like you said.
Yeah, this will
Absolutely.
be a game changer in India. If this becomes mandatory, which is what I'm really fighting towards, that just this much, and
Right.
there'll be a movement nationally.
And it's not so difficult.
It's just a paper. You just have to
Yeah.
20 questions. That's all.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Wow. Amazing knowledge. This is amazing and a big eye opener, right? Before we move on to anything, I think, should we share your journey to make them more, or would it be too emotional for you?
No,
You're good with that? So that they're aware of the extremities of it, so that they know that how important it is to take help, seek help. And I would really say that more than the women themselves, for their partners and their families to understand this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for me, I would say I had a very smooth pregnancy. Physically, I was absolutely okay. Mentally, also at that time, I didn't realize I was sinking because there was so much going on. My grandmom died the first month of pregnancy. My mom got diagnosed with cancer in the second month of pregnancy. Third month, I ended up with a ear infection that left me deaf in 1 year for a month. So I had a really nasty ear infection. Fourth month, my husband got down with dengue. Fifth month, my son got diagnosed with clubfoot. And, that was a major shock. We didn't even know of the word clubfoot there. So every month there was something. So when I delivered on 1st December 2016, and I was discharged on 3rd, I started experiencing a massive headache, which ultimately was because of a brain hemorrhage. So I had to leave my 10-day-old son in Jamshedpur and go to Chennai for my treatment. My neurologist and his wife were godsend people. They not just gave me a life, they I think, healed me in ways So anyways, I had to leave my 10-day-old child and go. My in-laws stepped up because my mom was still undergoing radiation, etc.
Right.
And my sister-in-law flew down, and she's not a mom, but yet she did the best she could. I keep telling
God
myself
bless her.
that, you have another
Mother.
mom-like figure. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I keep wishing her every Mother's Day I wish her. So
Yeah.
another sister-in-law, she's a mother. She also came down and helped. So my in-laws really backed me up. My mother-in-law, my father-in-law was 70. He came with me to Chennai. So I had extremely strong emotional backing from my family,
Right.
particularly my in-laws at that time. And I went to Chennai. The doctor confirmed I had a brain hemorrhage, and I was one of those lucky ones who went there without a cerebral attack. It was only because I was very, very, I would say, open and strong about that I am experiencing these symptoms, which were again invisible. My right side, I would experience feeling of numbness, and suddenly there were tremors, but it never happened in front of anybody. And the feeling of goosebumps and the symptoms of hemorrhage was such that I could feel it, but I couldn't show it. So we kept going back to my gynecologist. The anesthetic came in here to see that did
Right.
anything go wrong. Nothing came up in the blood reports also, but this was happening. And headaches were there. I also had a UTI, so they were thinking it's probably because of the fever, but the headache was insane. It was like someone hammering my head. It was that bad. I would remember I would tie a dhaga to my head after crossover because I couldn't take the pain. It was not normal. the blessing was when my semi-paralysis happened, because then I had proof. So I recorded a video. You can see I just posted that on my feed recently. And I recorded that video where I was smiling while brushing and I could move my foot. And I shot that, and that video saved my life, because that was what was then being circulated to doctors, that this is what happened, because it wasn't happening all the time. And the doctor then told me to get an emergency MRI done, and it was evident. So I didn't even know I had the brain hemorrhage. They just told me I need to get treated. So they took me, and it was in the aircraft that I got to know that, okay, I don't know if I was going to come back alive. So that's where I got to know, because my father-in-law wanted to keep it a secret. They were very scared that the stress could create something.
Right.
And when we reached there, I was admitted for 12, 13 days. The doctors took such good care. And in that moment, when I was lactating, I carried my pump also. It was just someone just touching my shoulder like this, or the gynecologist just doing this and asking me, are you feeling? Because I was, pumping blood and just flushing it down, because there was no baby. And I felt God was punishing me because I could not love my child. That was what I strongly believe, that it was a form of punishment that I received. And I don't remember the name of that gynecologist, but I remember the compassion where she just came and did this to me and she did that. And I'm telling you, every little warm gesture was very healing. My neurologist, he saved me that day, and I recovered. And he told me that it was the awareness that led me to. Yeah. And when I went back, it was day 21. And next day we had, in Bengalis, we have this Chatti Puja, where the name is decided, etc. And in that puja was the first time I experienced what I now know is an anxiety attack. I carried the baby, and there was too much discussion about his name. And suddenly I could not breathe. I had blackouts, and Shan was in my hand. My nanny was with me. I just sat down because I couldn't. And they took Shan, and my hands were like this. So they thought again my brain.
Right.
So we again contacted my neurologist, and he was like, I don't think anything can happen right now, but get a CT scan done. Everything was normal. That was my first symptom. After that, what I noticed was my husband would keep saying the statement that something in you is flipped after you delivered. You've changed after you delivered. He kept this timeline was always given to me. After you delivered, you changed, because I was a very easygoing, happy, cracking jokes. I was a very different person back then, which I am now, but it took me a lot of time to get here. That time he kept saying that you're not the same. Something as simple as me lying down and we asked him to switch off the fan, which I distinctly remember. And he's saying, he just getting up on the bed, he was like, you do it. Ended up in such a massive fight where I told him that, I deserve someone better. And I could see that it was impacting my marriage very strongly. My anger was out of control. So were my palpitations. So was everything. I could not bond with my child. It felt like everyone was at war with me, where everybody was trying to support me. Everybody, from, deboning a fish to feeding me, to everybody doing my laundry, hiring help so that I don't have to do anything. They were doing it, but it felt like everyone was conspiring against me. And
I think seemed enough to you at that time.
Nothing made me happy. It was a different level of sad. I have never experienced that kind of sadness. It is unreal. I keep telling everybody, I was possessed. That's the explanation I can give. I just felt like I was possessed. Anything that I felt didn't feel like me. And my behavior was hurting my husband. I love my husband to fix, but I could see my behavior hurting him, but I could not do anything about it except for apologize. And we just didn't know what was happening. But the turning point was when I started feeling the same thing about my baby. It was 5 months, 6 months, and I see others, how they are, being so joyful. I could not feel that joy. I lived a dual life for 8 to 9 months where I was happy on the outside, but inside, I wanted out. I still don't know whether I wanted out of the relationship, the motherhood thing, or life. I didn't know. I still don't know that. But I hated waking up in the morning. I hated. I would look forward to the time where the day would be over and I would just go to bed thinking, it's over. I'm done with the day. it wasn't the hard work that I was not comfortable with. It was the feeling, not knowing what I was feeling. That was even harder.
Yes.
That I didn't know what to say. My husband didn't do anything to irritate me. My son didn't do anything. But why was I feeling like that? My mother was recovering from cancer, and Shan's Club for Treatment was going better. Yet, why was I feeling that? That why never came? And I just thought I was the problem. And I thought maybe if I went away, everything's gonna be fine. So when that feeling started to come, and I remember, lying down in bed till 9:30 because my husband hired help every year. Just not wanting to get up was when I realized something was off. And I posted on an online group where they were like, "Have you been screened for postpartum depression?" And I was like, "Huh, what's that?" And then I Googled and I was like, it was like, wow, it's not
This is exactly what it is.
This is what is happening. And then came the next thing. Okay, who do I see for help? Do I go back to my doctor? Unfortunately, I had an anxiety attack that day when my pulse rate went through the roof. And I went to the doctor, and my BP was also quite fluctuating. So she made me lie down. She gave me medicines that day. And she just told me that, it's okay. It's going to get better. So I asked, do you think I have PPD? That was the time when she was like, ऐसा हो जाएगा, ठीक हो जाएगा, इतना कुछ नहीं है. So, just...
So this was a general practitioner or a
This was a
gynecologist?
gynecologist. And that happened. And I was like, okay, then it's maybe not PPD. Maybe it's me. So again, this was month 7, I think. My son had just been admitted, not admitted. My father-in-law was admitted in the hospital. My son had a really nasty infection during Durga Puja that year, 2017. And again, after that, I noticed that that feeling was again coming back. Like the relief I got after seeing that term online versus the doctor saying that ye to aise hi ho jayega, like it was not paid attention to, that happened. And then I started experiencing palpitations very regularly. So I went to a cardiologist. So ECG was normal. And I kept, and there was paranoia growing. Like, I think I can feel a lump here. I think there's a lump here. So numerous x-rays were happening because there was nothing, but I was feeling it. So then I reached out to my neurologist because I have to admit, I didn't want to see anybody in Jamshedpur because everybody knew my family, my in-laws and them. So log kya kahenge was something that bothered me at that point of time in 2016. So I saw my neurologist and he was like, yeah, you could be experiencing postpartum depression. It's very normal. You can just take the medicines and you should be okay. But yeah, seek therapy. You need to get better. Your life's normal.
Medicine, seek therapy.
Yeah, therapy was, And his wife was someone, I didn't have the courage to take an appointment with a therapist then, but his wife would keep talking to me, keep telling me how normal it was, that how brave I was and what a good job that I was doing. And slowly it got better. Things started to feel better. Initially, I hesitated towards medication. I tried the homeopathic way and I felt better. But later on, I could see other symptoms were coming back. So I took antidepressants and it gave me my life back. Like I lost even today, I have no memory of the first year. When I look at Shan's baby pictures, I even today I end up crying. A part of me still wishes that, why didn't someone tell me? Like, why? Like, it was just a simple term which anybody could have told me. So when that can't be changed, I also can't deny the fact that whole experience has made me understand what mental health is, has made me a better person. Because, when you go through these experiences of mental health, you become very aware of emotions. So you're very mindful. You learn a lot of tools in life, and that has really helped me. So like my husband says, you were a different person after you delivered. He says this now, that you're a different person now. So yeah, that was my...
So what I am picking up here is that PMD can happen to, PPD, can happen to people with the best of families. Yeah. I mean, look at you. You had best people around you to support you. Financially, emotionally, in every which way.
Yet I had it.
And yet you had it, which means it is much more than just
hormones and
a mental state, right?
Yeah.
So are you attributing this totally, it is medical reasons always, or it could be a combination of everything?
It could be a combination also. See, if you're at risk for PPD, if you've had a history of mental illness, if you have if you're not in a, you don't have good relationships with your immediate support system, whether it's your husband, in-laws, parents. If you've had, stressful conditions during your pregnancy, I had enough and I was at risk. If you
So
had,
despite all the best people around you, because you had very stressful conditions while you were pregnant, probably triggered it.
could be.
Right.
And whether you have birth trauma, because a lot of people go through scary situations
Right.
post-delivery, that, and hormones, definitely. Like my hemorrhage was caused due to hormonal imbalance. So there are these things put you at risk for
For
PPD.
people.
Yeah.
Yes.
So but this thing that people think that PPD is just hormones. It's a little more than
More
that.
than that.
Yeah, it is
So
not
just don't say
hormones.
कि सब कुछ तो है तुम्हारे पास, problem क्या है?
वही
ये problem है.
है.
It exists. It's real. Let's look into it, right into its eye, and take care of it. And I personally feel that, see, in your case, it was your awareness. It was God's sin. A lot of things, like I would say, were destined and
was.
meant to bring you to this point. You went through all that. But in a lot of depression cases, you hear a person who is depressed doesn't even recognize their depression. So don't you feel it is very important for the partner and the family to make them reach that place where they can get help? And
Yeah,
that would be a
I
big help?
think it's a triangle. The
Right.
doctor, the family, and your awareness and the willpower that I will take help. Because there are two sides. Like, one where they don't know. Like me, I didn't know. There are people who genuinely have no awareness because no one's ever told them. That's one. And another side is where the mother knows, but the husband does not believe in it. So they are dependent on the husband's approval to take help. And the other part is where they know, but their own stigma does not help them does not allow them to take that help. So there are these three. I've interacted with so many parents, moms particularly, and I've seen all of them. It is there. So information during pregnancy is where the key change can
I
happen.
really strongly feel
I
about it,
genuinely
right?
believe, because postpartum is hard to then come up to speed with that information that, okay, this is happening, I need to go here, because you have a baby to take care of. You're not prepared.
Suddenly, absolutely, you
and
have
for
lesser
some-
time for yourself, more lesser attention on yourself. Let's
Yes.
put it like that.
Moms tend to forget
Yeah.
themselves the moment the baby is born, and they look at themselves as only as caregivers, which again puts them at that risk. Like, just think,
Right.
anybody with a crying baby and body physically recovering, anybody's going to go
Yes.
through that low phase. But you have to understand that that's not how postpartum is supposed to be. That's not what motherhood is supposed to feel like.
Feel like.
So you have to be aware. And like you rightly said, yes, your spouse, your family must be educated. But what I strongly believe is, even if they are not, then what?
Yeah.
You have to be your own
Yes,
advocate.
we women have the power to change
And
things about
everything is
us.
online these days. You can take help. You don't
Yeah.
need them to accompany. You take help for your own self and get better for your own self.
So basically, awareness of self. Like, you were very alert towards every symptom, every change in your body, which I think also comes out of self-love.
Yeah.
In a way, yes. So, women, self-love, self-awareness, please always take care of it. It's very, very important, because God has placed you in a position to take care of first yourself. बोलते ना, पहले खुद oxygen mask पहनो,
Correct.
and then empower yourself so that you can spread
If
this love
you are good,
and care to your family, your child, and your family members.
absolutely.
So, yes. And God has given us the power, the Shakti to do it.
Yes.
It's not for nothing. The other day also I mentioned this, that parenting, parenthood, preparation for parenting in today's time, when honestly, see, earlier times were simple. Today, everybody is working. Challenges are more. Competition is more. Environment is a little tougher than what it used to be earlier, right? So on young people, especially, it takes much more hard work to get what was coming earlier very easily, right? You need courage, dedication, devotion, and selflessness. But to achieve that, you need, I think, self-love and self-awareness.
I am a
The
huge
tool
believer
to
of
achieve that is this,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Which is what even I'm realizing just now. Like, excellent.
You have to love yourself to realize
Yes.
there's a certain quality of life internally that you have to live, not
Yes.
materialistically, but internally
Internally.
you must
Yes.
have that thing that I should feel this way.
Absolutely. So then, I mean, like from whatever you're saying, obviously it is such a huge thing that it affects your marital relationship with your partner, your mother-child relationship, right? Actually, I think the whole process of parenting probably gets affected.
It does.
It does. Right.
It's crazy. The rage you feel against your 1-year-old or 2-year-old for nothing is all a sign of underlying depression. If someone just Googles postpartum rage and you see the effects of how it is when it's not treated, it's insane. Recently, I came across this girl who kind of left a hate comment on this, that stop giving excuses for postpartum depression. This is not a disease. Some women are not meant to be mothers. So I reached out to her, and she was a young girl, and I asked her that, why would you say that? And while talking to her, I found out her mother treated her in a very bad way, and she's very kind to the brother, but she's very different with the elder one. And then when she started narrating the symptoms of how she has been, it clearly it's something that she needs help. I'm not saying it's postpartum depression, but it needs help. So, you never know if it was treated or if she had PPD or anything like that. So,
Right.
Postpartum depression, in fact, any mental illness for that matter, if you leave it untreated, it can come back stronger next time. It's like, maybe you have a hairline fracture and you're like, oh, I don't need to do anything. Or maybe you have a hairline fracture, could be a wrong example. Let's say you have a fracture and you're like, no, I'll just put the sling, I'll take calcium supplements and I don't want to get it treated. Maybe it's going to be okay. But next time when you get hurt, you're going to collapse. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
So sometimes you think time is going to change everything. But personally, I believe don't leave it on time.
Yes.
What if it doesn't? Then you will start normalizing it, because it is very hard to place a finger onto an incident or to a time where, okay, this is when I need to take help. So you have to understand that, while feeling low is okay, feeling low all the time is not okay. While anger is okay, too much of anger destroying things is also not okay. It's a sign that you need help. So yeah, postpartum depression not treated I personally know people who've got divorced. In my suicide helplines also I've attended calls where they keep going back to 13 years of marriage, getting divorced, but the reason they got divorced was how her husband didn't support her in postpartum. She's never healed. She's in therapy.
Which means the postpartum depression can last for that many years?
Oh yeah, as for latest research, postpartum now can last up to 3 years. Usually it takes 7 years for a mom to feel normal again. But if you don't leave it, if you just leave it like that and you don't treat it,
right,
your symptoms keep getting worse, and mental illness is invisible.
Absolutely.
So it will show up in behavior as anger, as random fights, as holding grudges, unable to let go, picking up something that happened 10 years earlier and you're constantly doing that. It's the same thing, repeating the same thing again and again. Not being able to love your child, being extremely angry at your child. So these are all symptoms that were not left treated, that kept aggravating as time passed by.
I mean, one thing, I'm going a little off the track maybe, like somebody who has reached this stage, right, is probably not going to even recognize.
Most of them don't recognize.
Right? So, and suppose they don't accept it. Okay, this is my issue. How do you help such a person then?
You can just keep supporting them. Yes, give them a listening space, because that's what we learn in the helpline also, that some places you can't. And that's a very hard way to swallow. That this is what you need and you will improve, but they're not ready. So you have to accept that and just keep supporting them. Give them that emotional support. Because some people think
miracle will happen. Have faith that someday miracle will happen. So keeping in mind that, there is still a lot of skepticism on mental health, reservation, ignorance in the society, in most educated people also, and the hesitation of acceptance. What is your advice? What would you say? How to deal with this? I mean, The women must be suffering more for these reasons, right?
Be your own advocate. If you can't understand as women, and this is something I keep telling to all the moms in my workshop also, that if you can't understand that you need help and you can't stand up for yourself, nobody is going to come and tell you, okay, I can see you're sinking. You should now take help. You shouldn't be waiting for that. You should understand that you matter. How you feel matters, and you have to feel that very strongly. You can't change, like, someone might love me, okay? But they might not believe in mental health. It does not mean they don't love me. It just means that they strongly have an opinion about something that they have been conditioned into and they're not willing to learn. So what does that mean? Does that mean you don't take help? No. Does that mean you fight and throw your marriage apart because that person's not supporting you? It's a choice. But I would say I see this as my point of view, that I need to take help, and I will take help whether someone likes it or not, because it's about me. You can't, if you try to explain to everyone or wait for everyone to understand, it's a lost battle. But I think the place for educate, the way to educate more people would be a good way to go forward, so that in the near future, there is more conversation, there is more awareness. So I would say it all starts from your pregnancy. So if these conversations on mental health, on maternal mental health are more rampant, I think as a society, it's going to be more easy for them to accept it, because, the taboo is there. It's still there.
Yeah.
One way I think is like you're doing these podcasts. So, people will listen. Social media is a good way. Another way I would think is like, you remember the movie Chichore?
Right.
How it created an awareness on suicide.
Absolutely.
Everybody was talking about
Right.
it. Kota was, talking about it. Everybody. I think something like that on postpartum depression or motherhood, how it is, it could really make a difference on educating masses at large. So I think that's one way.
Communication, communication.
Communication.
Absolutely. Yeah. In any case, these are the tools to help people,
Yeah.
right?
But
So
I believe you have to
Help
stand
yourself.
up for yourself.
stand up. Learn
First is to
for
stand up, identify the symptoms, and once you stand up for yourself. That's what I strongly believe.
Yeah, it's a fact. When you stand up for yourself, people stand with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think that's a very, very important lesson to learn. Any special advice for the family and the partners and the society, which you would want to?
Yeah. Just listen. Don't judge. Just listen. No new mom is asking for advice. She has enough of advice. Just listen. Don't judge when she's saying that I'm not liking it. Simple things like, it's okay. It's going to get better. I'm willing to hear. I disagree right now, but I want to know what you're feeling. Simple statements like this can help a mom talk it out. Like, when someone listens to you, you heal. When you can talk more about your feelings, you heal. So just give her that and educate yourself. पहले ज़माने में नहीं होता था is not an excuse to not understand कि अब हो रहा है. पहले ज़माने में लोग बात ही नहीं करते थे.
Exactly.
People didn't talk about it. Like even today, people are not talking about it for the same reason.
Right.
But now things are changing. Now help is more important. Otherwise, how do you reduce postpartum suicides? How do you, you love your wife so much. You love the girl so much. Why does why does it take so much effort to just listen to her for what she's saying and not use your own judgment? So one is educate yourself about what the fourth trimester looks like. I think fourth trimester is a very important part of pregnancy, which we ignore because once your child is born, it's over.
Right.
Pay attention to the fourth trimester. Listen. Understand that the first month a postpartum mom needs a lot of support. Try listening more and giving less advice. And fourth, be open to seeing a mental health professional. This is very important. The more a postpartum mom is supported, the healthier the mother-child bonding is going to be. That really takes a backseat when a mom is fighting it. So, the more support you can give her, it will. And it's not about the husband or the family. It's not their thing. Someone else is going through. You give support. And if at all You can't unlearn. You can't do anything. Don't judge. Don't pass a comment. That's the least one can do. You may not have the awareness. You may not have the willingness to learn, but not judging is in one's control.
You know something, Shreya? Actually, if this is what spirituality is teaching everywhere, whether you're Sadhguru's Art of Living, everywhere, this is what they teach. If honestly, each one of us start practicing being unconditional, non-judgmental, and just love. And like you said, and the tool is listen. Just listen.
Just listen.
Right? Honestly, this world will be a better place.
Yeah.
And especially in extreme cases like when you have medical issues and other things. I mean, these take bigger proportions. And that's a proof that basically, अगर हम अपनी nature में ये चीजें develop कर लें, तो ये जो bigger issues हैं, they will become much lesser in society and medically also probably, right? So you're on an amazing path, honestly. So God really bless you for that. It's seriously like I said, I think I'm absolutely right when I say she's an angel. She's not an activist. Let's put it like that. So we were aware, but maybe a little more aware. How can one, so see if the people who are planning pregnancy, let's put it like that, or the ones who have delivered, now through conversation, communication, they're more aware that PPD exists, right? Then we is there a preparation thing which we can do post-conception, post-pregnancy, while pregnant, or after delivery, where we can be more prepared that if this happens, so that it doesn't really happen. And God forbid, the tools that if it happened, that you've told us, turn to help, right? But what is there anything we can do so that we don't have this or have it to it's much milder?
What I personally feel from my experience and from what I've learned is you need to prepare for pregnancy the right way. Get into a fitness routine, get into breathing exercises, get into yoga, start taking out time for yourself, invest in your self-care so that you have a pattern. Because काम करना, घर संभालना सब कर रहे हैं. This is what's, it's depleting you of your energy. Those are things you're doing to survive, to basically live your life. What are you doing for yourself? You do nothing. Then you get pregnant, okay? Then postpartum happens and you have no more time to do this anyways. And whatever you're doing is starting to deplete you of your energy because that's I would say a pressure situation in your life postpartum. Like, with physically, with hormones, situations, your child keep falling, relationships change, so much changes. And then you don't have time to go back to that. So I would say when you prepare for a pregnancy, first focus on yoga, physical fitness and mental fitness. Yoga, meditation, breath work for mental and movement. True. You just do walks. That's enough. You don't have to go to the gym if you don't have time. I'm not saying that, but you get into that path. And once you're here, life takes you somewhere. You get more informed, you learn coping tools. So that I think is preconception. When you conceive, you continue to take out some time for yourself. Again, to do something like, people think self-care is just like a manicure and pedicure, just like Netflix and chill and wine and diet. But no, not that. While that's important, you also take out something, you inculcate certain habits that will help you then. I really strongly believe in journaling. So I think for a pregnant mother to get into the habit of journaling, Garb Sanskar, meditation, online support groups or local support groups where you know what real motherhood feels like, because it's not how we see, how it's shown in movies, etc. Your fourth trimester is not like that. And to focus on the fourth trimester, you prepare for the fourth trimester. How do you prepare? You talk to your spouse. Few things that are real conflict areas must be spoken about. Are we going to hire help? Are your parents going to come? Or my parents are going to come? That needs to be clear because that's a very conflicting point too. Being in touch with each other about how they're feeling, because everyone's busy. You don't get time. And suddenly in postpartum, you don't get time at all. So that becomes a big trigger. So you talk about how you will take out time then. Talk about how you're going to divide chores. Speak about finance. Speak about boundaries. Like, are we going to allow visitors? Are we going to allow, socialize in the first month? What will happen if, what are the things, which hospital are we going to choose? All these are discussions that need to happen, because, it may sound like, "Oh, ye to koi baat bhi kar leta," but they don't. And then when it's, it's time to do it, everything becomes a conflict area. So 4th trimester, this is, I would say, if I had to redo it again, I would really have these conversations. And I would say, try to be informed. That's very important. That no matter how much you do, when a person needs help, if you can't be there, it again puts you back to square one. So if I had to put it down in like bullet points, physical and mental health before your pregnancy, and to prepare for the 4th trimester would be conversations with your husband about health, finance, spending time with each other and making that a priority, and also deciding on hospital's name. What would you name your child? Are you gonna get help from outside in terms of in-laws? Because that's again a conflict area. So these are conversations that must happen. And how to divide baby chores. You must have these conversations, because it's very important that things are clear for both of them. ऐसा ना हो कि बच्चा हुआ and then you're like, तुम तो कुछ भी नहीं करते, मुझे ही सारा काम करना पड़ता है. But what all you want, there should be a start, because the truth is, no matter how much you prepare, you might not be fully prepared for postpartum. But once you start having those conversations, you open that discussion with each other. So that discussion is what's going to help you in that postpartum period.
Yeah. And God forbid, if you have that, then because everything else is in place, the journey of postpartum
becomes
depression
much
will be easier, and your
joining
the recovery will be much faster, probably. Let's put it like that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So, you have so many people who shared their issues with you. I mean, like, you have a huge following now because you are supporting them, right? So is there anything which stands out which you would want to share, from which people can learn?
This would be for the husbands.
Anything which is,
I think since you mentioned this, one incident came to my mind. So this particular incident, I think, is a message out for the husbands. Don't wait for your wife to go to the extreme and then offer help. This is a story of this woman who's based out of Japan, an Indian who lives in Japan. She has been showing symptoms of postpartum depression. The husband's a very good person also, very loving towards the wife and child. But when she used to say that, I'm not feeling well, take a leave from office, he was like, why should I take a leave from office? What's the need? It reached to a point where she had decided that she's going to end her life. And she reached out to some mother on Instagram, another blogger, and she reached out to me. And then the entire day was on WhatsApp trying to just follow the techniques that we've been taught in the helpline and, to keep her engaged. And then when I got her, the thing was to find another contact. And then when I finally found that, I reached out to her husband fell from the sky. It was like, I didn't even know that this was happening. She just asked me to be at home. And then when I started talking to him about PPD, etc., he was like, yeah, she told me that she doesn't like spending time with the child. She told me she wants to go out, but I don't have time. And then they uprooted their life and they came back to India, because there she could not see a psychiatrist for too long because there was a language barrier. So then he did offer help, but it had to go to that extreme. So, when it all comes down to being informed. When they are reaching out to you, help. Just be there. But overall, I would say, just understand that just because you have had a different experience, or you don't know of anyone who's having that experience your wife is going through, your wife is going through something that you can't relate to because your parents have not gone through it, doesn't mean it's not real. Postpartum depression is real. It may be invisible, but it is very real.
Very real. Yeah. That brings me to one more question to my mind, that when, from your experience, I'm asking, when somebody reaches out to us support, what is the most difficult thing they find in reaching out?
Confidentiality and lack of judgment. So fear of judgment. They're always scared of someone's going to judge me, because the feelings are such, you yourself are going to judge yourself. Like, you will judge yourself when you start feeling like, I want to throw my 2-month-old baby. I don't want to, I want to leave. I'm not cut out to be a mother. Or, everything's perfect, but I don't like my life. Or there's something up with you. So, you yourself are judging yourself. So when you want to talk to someone, when you're putting it out in words, that, okay, what is happening is wrong. So you think others will also judge you, which happens. So I think when I speak, I'm speaking for myself here. When people do reach out, I sense that's what they're concerned about. The confidentiality part, कि किसी को बताएगा तो नहीं, किसी को पता तो नहीं चलेगा, and कहीं और judgment तो ना मिले. So that's something they are very scared of. That's why support groups make a difference. Everyone's talking about the same thing. So you're not feeling alone.
Yeah, and extending that love which they felt lack of.
Support groups give you a lot of support. A lot. I mean, I wish I had one when I was there going through it, but now that I'm conducting one, I see it helps a lot. Like maybe you've had a really bad day and you just slapped your child, you've taken out someone's anger on your child, etc. But then you're telling everything, and it's like, it's okay, it's happened. How can you repair? Can you think of how you can apologize? So there's no judgment on what you've done, but more like a solution-oriented thing that, ho gaya, ab aage kya karna hai? So that gives you a lot of, comfort in your own life, that nobody's judged me, but you're also focusing on ki isko aage theek kaise kare. So that becomes, you're constantly working on getting better. That is something I observe in my support groups. It really drives them to a point where they're thinking, isko acha main aur kaise karu. So that helps.
So how would you cap it all up in terms of your advice out of your experience for the woman herself, for the partner, family, and society?
First is be informed. Do your own research. Find out what the 4th trimester is like. Don't waste time in convincing others about what you're feeling. If you see they are not able to understand, or they're not capable of understanding because of their own conditioning, or because they don't see your point of view, simply, it doesn't mean they're against you. They just don't share the same opinion as you. But don't hold on to that opinion and not take help for yourself, because you as a mother matter. Your mental health will shape your motherhood journey and your marital life going forward. So you should take help for yourself. As far as the family is concerned, I just think, just give her some time, give her support. Support and a safe listening space is all that they want. Don't go and pass comments like, why aren't you breastfeeding? If they're formula feeding, oh no, breastfeed, your child's gonna be sick all through his life. Formula doesn't help. Don't pass comments on the baby's color, body, and then shame the mother. Give less advice. Try to support if you can. Don't try to, I would say, don't try to minimize her struggles if she is. मैंने तो इतने बच्चे पाले, इतने स्ट्रगल में, तुम्हारी एक में इतनी हाल हो रही है. Let's not dismiss her feelings. Let's not dismiss a new mom's feelings as far as the family and society is concerned. That I think will be of huge help. And as far as the society and this is concerned, I think it's time maternal mental health screening becomes mandatory, and we have more conversations on maternal mental health, because a lot of people have this notion that माँ है तो खुश होना ही पड़ेगा, अभी माँ बनी है तो grateful होना ही पड़ेगा. You can be grateful, but you can still find it hard to cope up to it. That's a reality. So let's have more conversations on what the reality of postpartum looks like and how you can prevent it. How just being informed, ki if I go through this is where I need to go for help. That can actually save you from this dark phase that most moms go through when they're uninformed. So be your own advocate, do your own research, and it's going to be fine.
Absolutely. And for the partner?
Support your wife. Once she's delivered and she's had a child, remember she's still your partner. It's not just about the child. People tend to forget the mother once they have the baby, but she's still your wife. There was a reason why y'all had a baby together. Make sure you remember that support, giving her a safe listening space, and disagreeing, but still listening is still there. Support her the way she wants to. I think that really will help. Where you understand that, okay, she's just birthed a baby, she's just given birth to a baby, and there are hormonal changes happening. So understand, validate, and just give her a safe listening space. I think that is something every new mom will appreciate, a safe listening space and support.
The mantra for today is listen, lend a ear, let go, and let live.
Yes.
Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
Right? Thank you so much, Shreya, for this amazing session of unlimited knowledge in a field which needs a lot of exposure. You have not only empowered them with knowledge and wisdom, you have also given techniques of coping up with it. And we just hope that your particular one application of that, what was that thing, that which is just a chart,
EPDS scale.
EPDS scale. So hospitals, doctors, prenatal groups, psychologists, whoever is listening, please bring this into the forefront. Help out people. It'll go a long way, not only in just a mental health issue, which may start during pregnancy, but saving people from long-term depressions in their life. Because like you said, the triggers may come back and take them back into that space, right? Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.
It was
Thank you.
such an honor today.
Same.
Honestly,
Very,
very overwhelming to hear your story. And God bless you for your strength, for the path you have taken, and this journey which you have started. May success always be yours.
Thank you. Thank you for being
so
so
much.
kind. Thank you.
All our blessings.
Thank you. Thank you.
To our audience, thank you so much for being here today. I am so overwhelmed that I don't even know how to conclude, because to me, this is just a beginning of, we said it 9 and beyond, but this beyond can go this beyond. For me also, it's an eye-opener. The word fourth trimester, how important it is in your life. We are glad we can help you. Please take care of yourself. You're all precious. And to bring the precious one into this world with the most optimum levels of mental health, spiritual health, holistic health, like we say, a complete divine soul. Take care of yourself, like Acharya ji said. पहले अपने मंदिर को ठीक तैयार करिए, ताकि उसमें जो दिव्य आत्मा आ रही है उसको एटमॉस्फेयर मिले, वो एनवायरनमेंट मिले कि वो दिव्य बन सके, आपको रोशन करे, आपके घर को, आपके संसार को, और फाइनली इस दुनिया को, जैसे आज हमारी ये एंजल कर रही है. Thank you so much. God bless everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much.